Welcome, everybody, to the Lounge with Lars podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Larson. I'm with Jake Slade. Welcome, Jake, first off.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, it's my first episode, and I think, have you done a podcast before?
Never before. Yeah,
This is going to be great, man. Well, you're in good hands. I've been on a few podcasts. I launched a book in, I think, 2021, and then I had like a big public push, and so I was on a few podcasts. So I think I know the basics, the foundation. So, I'm going to try to, work this through as easy as possible for you because this is your first one. But it's super fun, and we'll just speak from the heart and relax and just enjoy each other's company, man.
That sounds good. I'm gonna have to dig in on that book writing thing that you did because I have some
ideas,
interest in doing something like that.
Very cool
in the future. So
well, shoot, man. Let's get into it. Let's hear your thoughts about what you want to do.
So I don't know why I don't like to read. So that's the weird thing. I really don't enjoy reading.
Yeah.
I'll listen to audiobooks. I like self-help books a lot, and I like things to read short, maybe like blogs, kind of like journal entries and things like that, but not really. I don't like to get into a book, and for some reason my mind can't stay focused long enough. But I have this draw to kind of write a book about a very specific Christian topic that I'm passionate about. Yeah, and it's something that's a little bit outside of a general belief of Christians, but it has to do with Christian non-believers. If there's any room for non-believers of Christ in heaven, and I really do believe that there is, because I don't think that I just don't believe that that's the Jesus I believe in is not one that would exclude anybody specifically, only those that chose not to. So there's a whole big topic on it, and it's a very in-depth discussion that I would love to have with you or whoever might be interested in listening. And I'm not there to change people's minds. It's just I want to put it out there because I just think that's
where your heart is.
It's where my heart is.
Yeah. We've met each other a few times just from just being close neighbors. My little girl went to your wife's school, which was at your house.
Right, the preschool at the house.
Yeah, and I think that's how we first kind of met. And then I think Mia had a birthday party, and we got to know each other a little bit.
Yeah, I came over for that birthday party. That was fun.
Yeah, that's when the house was completely bare, and so we've done a little bit more work.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you, man. And so, and now we've seen a lot of each other at church. And this is why I think it's a great topic to just kind of springboard off of, is because it seems like a very religious man. I have not been in my life, and about a year ago my mom passed away from cancer, and it was definitely a big turning point in my life. And I was kind of seeking out therapy and just looking to kind of unload, if you will, sure. Right? And so I didn't find that too helpful, to be honest with you. And that's kind of when my wife said, well, he's always listening. And I'm like, who?
Yeah.
And she's like, our Lord Jesus Christ. And so I was I kind of pushed it off, Jake, honestly. And I was like, no, that's just not for me. I just thought I was this tough guy. And anyways, I decided, after just listening to my heart, listening to my, to my head, and I wanted to just attend. And I went to your church.
Yeah, Sun Valley there.
Yeah, Sun Valley, and it was amazing, man. I felt like they were talking to me immediately. So it was super cool. I was super connected really fast. Yeah. And I left that sermon, and I was like, holy macro, this is it. And so honestly, that was almost a year ago, and I've just been going every Sunday. I went to Alpha, and it was amazing, man. And I know I'm a little long-winded here, but it's a really good point that I would like to drive home to, is because you are a man of faith, and I have another buddy who's coming here a little bit later to do another podcast, and he actually attended with me to that alpha group.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and his name's Donovan, super great guy. He attends Sun Valley. So yeah, it's just it's amazing how connected we all are once we kind of let our guards down.
Yeah, I think that one of to add on, if there's anybody out there that's kind of contemplating that they may not be sure about Christ or religion in general, and I think that it's actually, you're more of a tough guy if you surrender yourself to Jesus, because you have to let go of the pride that you have and make that surrender, and that's harder than trying to control your own life. So if you can, actually surrender some of those things to God and Jesus, then that's much more challenging. So I would say, especially in this world where there's, Christians sometimes are maybe not necessarily persecuted directly, but it's not always viewed as a popular thing. And, a lot of times people think badly about Christians across the world, or even in the U.S. in some cases, just for sometimes political reasons too. But I think just kind of being able to stand up and surrender that way is a very, very masculine thing to do, I think, and kind of take leadership. And then I always find that every single person that needs God the most at that time, it doesn't matter, somehow when they're at Sun Valley or other Christian churches as well, they always feel God speak to them that day. It happens a lot, and I think it's because God can find a way to speak to you, because he wants you to be close to him, and he wants you to follow him. So, I mean, if anybody out there is like kind of thinking they're kind of on this, just try it out. Yeah, totally. It doesn't hurt to go, and if you meet some cool people, great. And if you really enjoy it, even better. Yeah. Hopefully you go back another time, but give it a try.
Heck yeah.
It's only an hour on a Sunday most of the time.
Right? What else are you going to do? You're going to be sleeping in?
Exactly. You watching football, but you can always go before that too.
There you go. We have cable, so you can just rewind it too.
Sure.
That's amazing, man. I mean, the cool thing with this podcast is I'm going to take this wherever it goes, man. Like, I want to talk about friends, family, faith, those big 5 F's, right? Yeah. And I can't remember what the other 2 are right now.
Sure.
I'll remember after this podcast. But, well, thanks for sharing that with me, because that's so important. I think that's probably first and foremost in your life, right?
Yeah.
Would you
I'm trying to. It's not always, but that's what I want. That's my target. Yeah. And when it is, it's clear that my life is more organized. My life is better. When I surrender the things that I have no control over to him, then I leave the stress behind. Totally, and man. Then that stress is left with somebody who can take care of it and has the appropriate outcomes, and I don't. And then I can focus the attention that was being stolen by the stress on my family or other things that really could use or want my attention.
Yeah. So true, man. I mean, once again, every time I get done with church with my family, it's like I feel just like a weight just lifted off my shoulder. I could kind of like regroup. And man, I don't know what it is. I'm 47. How old are you?
I am 40.
40. Okay. Man, I just think I was hoping things would get a little bit easier, but it's actually, as I get older, life seems to get a little bit harder, and I don't know why that is. Maybe it's because I have more responsibilities. Maybe I'm piling on too many things. Different jobs, business, friends. I mean, I don't know, man. And I'm not trying to set you up for failure.
No, that's like a deep philosophical question, and I don't even know that there's an answer to that, because it seems to me, generally we're always looking forward and saying, well, if I get to this point, that's when something's going to be better. If I get to having that house that I want, I'm going to be content. I'm going to be happy. If I get to having that car, or if I achieve something at work or something like that, that might drive me to the point of happiness. And generally speaking, we get there. We might be, like on a high of, I made it to where I was, and achievement is great. Yeah. There's a lot of good things that come with achievement, but that's not what we're all seeking. What we're all seeking is relationships and love and, eventually a path to the Lord. So if if that's not what is part of what you're doing and what your achievement goals are, then you're always going to be left thinking that life isn't getting any easier because you kept on getting the things that you wanted. You kept on getting the goals. You hit the goals that you wanted, but it's not getting any better because you never surrendered anything. You never left anything behind to put like on Jesus' shoulders to carry for you.
So true, man. We just keep coming back to a higher power. It's I think you nailed it, Jake. Honestly, man. I mean, I've done some things in my life. I got a few businesses, and I have a beautiful house now, and got a beautiful family, and I'm supposed to be happy, right?
Yeah.
But
I think you're happy, but that's not the fullness of all the happiness that you're really looking for.
Yeah, and I think that's why every Sunday is so important, is because that's when I'm starting to feel that I'm most happiest.
Yeah.
I feel abundant when I'm there, and so that's why I'm like, man, there's no other time out of the week where I feel most completed or I feel whole like Sunday, man. So I think it's it's a topic that we need to lean into, man.
Totally.
And I'm glad we're talking about it. So
nobody can fill your cup like Jesus does.
100%.
My wife and I, there was some struggles in our relationship in years past, and some of the things that we struggled with was Suzanne really leaned heavy onto me to lift her happiness, to fill her with joy. And I want to make her happy. I love her. She's amazing. She's an incredible wife. I love her so much.
She's incredible.
I almost felt as if I was doing something wrong because I couldn't make her happy. So we weren't going to church at that time together, and we started going to Sun Valley, and she started learning that her cup is actually better filled by Jesus than it is by me. And she can find joy in that. It's almost as if she sees the things that I'm doing for her as being even more joyful, because she's not looking to me to be the one that makes her happy.
Right.
She finds happiness in herself and with Jesus. And then I'm just a complement to that. And so then that just makes kind of for like a more full plate of, great things.
Man, on the title of this podcast, I'm going to just put like fullness,
fullness, or filling your cup. I'm going to empty my water cup though, because I don't want to drink a lot, I guess. But I didn't know that, but now I know how to drink a lot of water while doing this.
I mean, we're both probably a little nervous because this is my first episode and this is your first podcast. So, but I think we're doing amazing.
Yeah.
How about you?
Seems like it's going so good so far.
All right, man. I want to dive into, thank you for sharing that. That was amazing. I want to dive into your business a little bit.
Sure.
Tell me about Master Mechanical. What inspired you to get into this field?
Yeah, man, it's kind of a deep thing, and I imagine that we're probably going to kind of flow through this conversation a little bit, but just at a whole, I worked in a corporate job for the entire time I was working prior to owning Master Mechanical, and so I went to college. I worked my way through college. I worked at Honeywell, and they paid for a good amount of my college. Actually, I went to ASU. I got a business degree. Oh, wow. Nothing super incredible, but it was normal at the time. In the early 2000s, it was kind of a common thing to get a business degree. And then I took that, and I asked Honeywell to do more for me after I got the degree. Like, I wanted more. They gave me more responsibility, but they kept on keeping my pay around the same. Gotcha. So it was like a little bit like, I got to get out of here. They're taking advantage of me now. But I'm very thankful that they kind of took care of my school. So I left and I went to Wells Fargo to be a project manager in technology. And I was on this project that, man, I'm giving too much background, I think, right now.
No, it's perfect, man. Keep sharing.
I mean, I got in this project, and there's some technology stuff going on, and the project team that I had, the tech guys that were supposed to be doing some work, engineers, they just were not prioritizing my project. I'm a failure is no option kind of person. So I took on some of the work that would normally be the role of the engineers, and learned the technology that was in play, and kind of led through that project, and then actually jumped in with the permission of the engineers and started getting my hands dirty and doing some of the actual hands-on work there. And turns out they liked me in technology and not just being a project manager of technology.
Okay.
So I worked my way through a bunch of different things in technology and got into some strategy roles and lots of data stuff and all kinds of, well, ultimately tech strategy.
Got it.
And that was really fun and really great for a while. I kind of rose up the ladder really quickly. I'd say I achieved quite a bit at Wells. But I kind of got to the point where I was at a ceiling, and I thought to myself, man, I'm so young. It's like, I think 35. And somewhere along the way, actually, you know what, Ryan, I was testing to be a firefighter because I wasn't super, happy with the achieving part of it was great.
Yeah.
But I'm a service-oriented guy. I think I'm learning that more now than ever. I like to serve. That's kind of my love language, actually, serve others. So it's a really good fit for me to be in kind of the position I am with that. That being said, but there was no serving everybody else. I mean, I served Wells Fargo at the time, and I didn't have much interaction with customers. I mean, sure, I did some cool stuff, but there was nothing that I was doing outside of helping the people that I worked with on things. So that's where I was very interested in being a firefighter because they're like serving the community, and I love that.
Yeah.
Turns out I don't test that well, I guess. So I didn't make the cut.
You and me both. I mean, that was my struggle. I mean, for the listeners who don't know, I've been a fireman for almost 25 years. So it's interesting. Next year, pretty much, gosh, I'm like March 28th of 2026. I will have 25 years and I officially retire. So it's been an amazing career. It's allowed me to, kind of explore other options or passions in my life. And one was, investing. So I started like a financial business and recently I just started a real estate company. So these were all opportunities that the fire department has allowed me to explore.
Sure.
So it's given me a great foundation. But you said you like to serve others, right?
Yeah.
That's your heart language,
right?
And it's interesting. I'm finding so many commonalities with you because that's my biggest language too. Is being a servant and an advocate of others.
Totally.
And that's what I found enjoyment in. And obviously doing something for so long, you start to kind of lose your sense, your purpose of why you're doing this job. And just listening to you, that is the reason, is I got into the fire department to serve others. But it's been a long, hard journey for me. And, it's about time to wrap it up. But I've enjoyed every second. I know some firemen who are a little disgruntled, but I've always find opportunities, whether it's in business or just, finding opportunities where I could continue to build upon myself. And that's one of my strengths too. So, in your business, did you touch on how you transitioned?
No, let me finish that up real quick. So that's okay. So I ended up deciding I was going to try to leave Wells Fargo and after the firefighter situation didn't quite work out. I was actually thinking I could be a firefighter and work at Wells because I worked mostly remote and I could probably, if I wasn't the right department during my 4 days, I could totally fill and then probably fill in some off time as well. So I thought that I might be able to balance both. Suzanne was like, no way, you already work a lot as is. And the truth is I'm kind of workaholic, so I really am a task-oriented person. But I decided I needed to get into something that I didn't need to have a ceiling on top of me. I can't live with a ceiling above me. I want to decide where I stop on my own based on what I feel was appropriate for me. And maybe I would listen to people that I care about and love on where and negotiate that with them maybe. But if it was all me, there is no ceiling. There is nothing that could stop me from getting whatever it is because I like to achieve things.
That's just who you are.
That's just who I am. So I'm looking. The other thing is I'm in technology. I see all the AI stuff that's happening, and we're all immersed in that now. I mean, I love AI. I love technology. I'm a huge tech guy, but I realized that there's a lot of white collar jobs that are actually being lost now currently, and there's going to be even more, way more than, the times when I was growing up. People were like, oh, machines are going to take over all these blue collar jobs, and everybody that's building cars and everybody's doing all this other stuff, they're going to be the ones losing their jobs. Well, it turns out it's all the white collar people that are in the most jeopardy of losing their jobs, because it's the easiest thing to overcome with AI, and it's happening as we speak. So I was looking at the data and saying, okay, well, over the next 10 years, what are going to be the 3 most in-demand careers? Like, what's the top? Well, it turns out number 1's nurse. That's because the baby boomers are all about to hit the hospice situation here.
Yes,
they're all
100%.
They need their butts wiped and things like that.
I've done plenty of that.
I'm sure you have. I would see. Maybe that's why I wouldn't have been a great firefighter. I don't know if I could wipe a butt. Maybe I could. I've never tried.
I wouldn't recommend it.
Well, I guess the kids, but a baby's easy. Yeah. So that's so funny. So then after that, immediately after that, the next 3 are the trades. So you're talking HVAC, electrical, and plumbing.
Yes.
So from now over the next 8 to 10 years, if you're a tradesman, you're in really great shape. Mm-hmm. I mean, you are going to be in demand. That means you're going to be able to demand higher salary. If you're qualified and you actually show up for work, I mean, you're still going to have to do some stuff. I mean, some people keep a job and all you have to do is breathe and show up, and they still keep a job. The demand is going to be really high. It's going to continue to go up, and AI is not taking it over, at least in the very near term. There's no robots crawling into people's attics to fix their ACs. And there might be some intelligence that happens along the way, and I'm working on some myself actually that will help with diagnosis and things like that. But it's still going to have to require a person that's there, that's certified by the EPA to handle refrigerants, because you can't just let them out into the globe. It's bad for global warming and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not entirely sure about the data and the science behind all the global warming stuff, but I still think it's right to be to try to manage it as best we can. That's our responsibility as HVAC techs as well. So anyhow, and then we're in Arizona. So
oh my gosh, right?
If your AC goes out in Arizona, you don't stay at your house. You in the summertime, you call your friends. You go to a hotel. You're like, hopefully, if you have in-laws, and so that's a very clear, that's a demand that's not going to go away in Arizona anytime. And there's a somewhat seasonal fluctuality to that here, but the demand is so high, even though there's a lot of HVAC contractors in Arizona. Mm-hmm. I never feel like I'm competing with anybody that I really even know. There's so many of us. So,
well, you're making yourself stand out too. By just your hats and the vehicle that you're driving. Yeah. Describe the vehicle that you're driving right now.
So interesting that, because we're talking about being firefighters earlier, and I found that I can buy a used ambulance for a more reasonable price than buying a used service truck or a used service van. And so in my infancy, as a business owner, I'm very, very cautious about how I'm spending my money. And yes, it does sound like it would be great to go buy some brand new vehicles and kind of show off this beautiful look for Master Mechanical. But I think it was a wiser decision for me to kind of look at other options that are more affordable. And I was able to, I've actually have 2 ambulances that are my service vehicles. One of them's in Flagstaff and one of them is down here in the Valley. And they're amazing. They're built for exactly what I need. I mean, outside of gas mileage, which isn't even that terrible compared to some of these other service trucks anyways, they're built to do exactly what I need. They have already all the built-in shelving that holds all of the tools that we need. There's not janky shelves and some weird thing where you have to try and fit your toolbox in there, but it doesn't really fit. So you kind of have to dump half your tools out to get it to work. And you just all slides in. Everything has a home, and it's plenty of room to fit new units in there if we have to go do an install, and everything just goes so great. And then on top of that, it's a super big billboard.
Well, yeah, the billboard thing is, you can see it down, pretty much everywhere you go, right? Yeah. It's like, oh, there's an ambulance. Wait, that's different.
Yeah.
And Master Mechanical is just blasting.
I think that the other cool thing and this, I'm sure that this works, first of all, kids love it. Yes. So if we're at a house and the kids are home, young kids, maybe preschoolers or whatever age they might be. They're not in school and we're there. They see the ambulance. Well, it's a functioning ambulance. So the lights work, the sirens work.
That's so cool.
All those things. I asked if it's legal, and they said as long as I'm not running blue lights, it's actually not illegal for me to do that.
Okay, I didn't know that.
I'm not supposed to run the Opticom, which is the thing that makes it so the lights change colors.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't do that.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah,
not
we don't do that. But the kids love it, and then if you pull into your neighborhood and you see an ambulance, even if you can't read the sign from where you're at. I mean, it's pretty big. You still kind of might be curious, like, I wonder what's going on over there. Maybe I'm parked at a house that you know them or you know the neighbor. You might ask that neighbor, hey, is everything okay with, Miss Jones? Mm-hmm. Oh, no, she was just getting her AC taken care of. Well, oh, those AC coming. That's cool. Master mechanical. Yeah. I heard they did a really great job. Because people are just curious. They see something that's out of the norm versus seeing a bunch of service trucks. I mean, those kinds of things are all over the place. Everybody, plumbers and electricians and all of our vans and stuff mostly look the same. I mean, there are different graphics and stuff, but in my field, I mean, it really stands out with that ambulance. I mean, it's...
Yeah, we sat down for coffee the other day and we were kind of talking about just your branding. And I just think branding is so important, right? And I think right now your branding is on point, man.
Yeah.
I mean, from your hats to your logos to the rolling billboard. I'm like, Jake has something here.
We're working on it.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm certainly, that's not my forte at all. I'm
You're doing a good
not
job.
that creative when it comes to that kind of stuff. I'm a little bit more creative on the technical side of things. But I'm not that artistic. So I'm kind of leaning on some other people I bounce some ideas and then they put it together. I kind of give them a little bit of a vision and they kind of bring it to life, and it's been working out pretty good.
That sounds like a CEO, man. That sounds like a business owner.
It's
you
crazy.
got the vision and then you ask people to bring that vision to life.
When I was a kid, when career days and stuff, people would ask, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I really did want to be a CEO. Wow. That's what I wanted to be when I was a kid. Wow. After I wanted to be a basketball player. When I figured out that I wasn't going to be tall enough to be a basketball player. I mean, Muggsy Bogues was tall enough and he's shorter than me, but I'm not Muggsy Bogues. So I remember Muggsy. Of course you do. Yeah.
What common myths are, in the HVAC world? Like what do people when they think about HVAC, what's a myth that might pop into their head?
Man, there's just so many of them. I think there's a really big one that a lot of HVAC people lean really heavy into, which is, the scarce availability of a refrigerant called R22. And this is entirely true. There is a lower availability of R22, and we're not making R22 in the United States. It's not available though, and it is available, and it can be priced fairly by a contractor who wants to provide a service to a customer versus a sale to a customer, and I think it's a myth because a sales guy will say, "Oh, you have an R22 unit, we can't even work on this thing anymore. You're going to have to replace it." And then suddenly they're putting in front of them a $15,000, $20,000 quote for something that probably doesn't even have something to do with the refrigerant. All they really need is a run capacitor or a contactor, something super simple. Doesn't even matter what the R22 is.
So the R22 is a compressor?
The R22 is the refrigerant that runs in. So
got it.
There's we could get all into the thermodynamics and what different refrigerants do, and I'd be happy to tell everybody all about that because I geek out on nerdy stuff like that. But R22 is kind of it's the old school stuff. It's the green can. It's the first one that was banned. They changed it to 410A, and that was a long time ago. It was back in the early 2000s, maybe 2005. I think they were no longer allowed to install new R22 equipment.
Oh wow!
But the thing about that is that equipment runs at a much lower pressure. And so it actually lasts longer because the system isn't running so hard. The compressor does not have to compress to the same pressure that it does with 410A. It's almost 3 times the pressure that you could be working with on a 410A refrigerant versus a R22 refrigerant. And so, I mean, that myth is just that you have no choice but to replace. And that's not true. I might recommend that you start thinking about it. If you're having issues and you can start budgeting for it, it'd be a good idea, because it can get expensive if you have to do some major repairs, and in which case you might think about replacing. But if you are changing a motor out and it doesn't even have anything to do with the refrigerant, you should 100% keep it going, because ultimately what happens is you make an investment in a brand new AC, and that AC has a 10-year warranty, which is great. That's a pretty good product, actually, 10-year warranty on your new air conditioner. But you're going to spend $10,000 to $15,000 on that.
Right.
What if over the next 10 years you spent $500 a year keeping the one that you have going? Which one's better?
And on that, when you say keeping it going, what's your recommendation as far as like when people should get their HVAC unit serviced?
Totally. In Arizona, especially before the summer season, you should have maintenance done. I think one of the big things that a lot of people get kind of sucked into in the HVAC world too, that, and there might be some things that I'm saying that are kind of taboo on HVAC, but I'm just talking from a service perspective, because I'm a service company. I'm not a sales company.
Yeah.
Master Mechanical is here to serve the community, and that service is where the value is. If I sell you something and I leave, I didn't serve you at all. I just sold you something.
Right.
So there's nothing. We had a transaction. We didn't have a service. I would say that's a lot more like the difference between going and getting a great steak at a steakhouse and going to McDonald's and getting a cheeseburger, right? They didn't really serve you. They handed you your thing and you're gone, and you don't see them. Versus a nice steakhouse where you take some time and they bring you, at the Bourbon and Bones, they even let you choose these certain knives.
I've been there. I love it.
It's a 3-hour experience, and then they include all things, and at the end of the day, the bill is actually going up, right? But they're providing something that you find a lot of value in the services for you, and they're continuing to be there for you throughout that. They don't just drop the food off and call it good.
Yeah.
That's what happens with the sale transaction a lot in HVAC is they'll do a transaction. They will do either a high ticket repair or a new replacement equipment, and then they kind of hit the road. And it just sometimes seems like they're just gone. So they make all their money and then they're out of there. So circling back on the service part of that, if I could provide that service of doing a preventative maintenance every year, that you're going to be in really good shape.
Yeah.
But you have to make sure that you're actually getting your HVAC unit maintained. Sometimes there'll be an HVAC company that will come to your house and they're saying, we're going to do your spring tune-up, or we're going to do your preventative maintenance. They might call it an inspection. It probably is better served to be called an inspection, but because a tune-up to me, even just by the way it sounds, means that they're making some adjustments, right?
Right.
They should be doing something to make sure it's running better than it was when they got there.
Yeah.
And if they're not doing anything to tweak something to make sure it's running better, then what did they tune up? They only looked at it all and said, because ultimately what that means is they're coming out there. You called them so they could come out there and sell you on something. So crazy. Especially when their rates are, they might say, we'll come and do a tune-up for $20, or we'll come and do a tune-up for $40 or something like that. If it's so low that it sounds like, how could you even pay somebody to do that? It's because it's too low and you can't pay somebody to do it like that, which means that they have to sell you something when they're at your house. Versus what at Master Mechanical we have an annual service. The PM service is $125, but the goal is actually that we do maintain your unit. If there's some things that we find, of course we want to make those recommendations as we're doing the tune-up. But I want to be able to leave there and have made some money, be able to pay my employees an appropriate wage to come out your house and gas and all the things. And it costs us about $80 to show up at your door. Okay. That's pretty much about how much it costs. I would say that's probably industry average. So if anybody's trying to sell you a tune-up for less than that, they have to get more than that at the end of it.
So for putting a butt in the seat, driving the vehicle out there, your time, your employees'
the
time.
Dispatch and kind of some of the overhead that goes with that.
Okay.
It just to get somebody to show up at the door is about $80.
Interesting.
And so I always say if they're charging you less than that, then they have to be looking for it on the back end. We charge more than that to start because we'll be happy walking away just telling you that your unit's working fine, and we did the maintenance and we cleaned the condensing coil and actually did things that will be good for your system instead of just looking at it hoping to find something's wrong.
Yeah, and then obviously you do a good service. You're an advocate for the client, and most likely Master Mechanical is going to get a call to come back and either service or if it replaces because we hit 125 degrees in Arizona. You're the go-to HVAC company.
Sure, and you can get a better rate if we do a service agreement where you can do it's $15 to $20 a month for. It's just a monthly kind of like a Netflix subscription, but we come out twice annually, and that really actually augments the price down to maybe like $90 to $100 per visit. So we'll do a fall one if you have a furnace, especially to make sure that your furnace is all clean and ready to go, safe. And one of the key things that we check for there is carbon monoxide readings. And so a furnace it's a silent death. You could die in your 100%. Sleep with carbon monoxide.
I've seen it. So that's for any listeners who's thinking that or is concerned about that. That is, call Jake and make sure that is up to date.
And we can come out and check it because if we find any parts per million, I mean, even if it's below what the threshold is, that means something happened because there really should be none. We should have no readings at your supply. So if we start to see that means that there's maybe a small leak now, but tomorrow that could be bigger. 100%. And we're not going to be sitting there with the meter. Another thing, and I'm not sure what you would recommend, this is a good thing for me to ask you right now as a firefighter. I always see people they're just like, oh, my fire alarm also is a carbon monoxide detector. But my understanding of carbon monoxide, I'm no gas expert, is it's heavier. And so doesn't it sink to the bottom and it sinks really low? So if your carbon monoxide detector is not at your floor level or maybe like at your outlets, and I'm using the outlets in this room as a reference, but maybe like especially it should be below your bed, because if it's above your bed, that means that the carbon monoxide could rise above your bed level while you're sleeping, and your alarm up there is never going to go off.
It's not going to go off. You hit it, right on the head. You definitely need a CO2 monitor, at ground level, just a little bit above. Yeah. But I mean, that's awesome that you guys are thinking through that too. And so, we've gotten so many calls of, carbon monoxide going off, and, we're there in full turnouts, breathing air. I mean, cause it's that deadly, right? And it literally could blow up a house. I mean, you get gas and carbon monoxide and it's death.
Bad situation.
It's a bad situation, right? And so
I shouldn't smile about this. It
is. And it's definitely not, I've seen walking into a home, and seeing people just passed away on the floor, and it's like, you don't know what's going on. And then we have to think through, are we walking into a bad situation? Are we smelling gas? Is it odorless? What's going on in our situation? Yeah. So, we're having to be kind of on that spot going into a house, just like focusing on, is there anything that we're not seeing here? I mean, does it feel off? And that's what makes, a good captain, a good crew, is just, they've been there, they've seen that. So, well, that's very cool. You have a $125 annual service.
That's like if you call today, that's what you can get. If you just call and you just want one tomorrow, you want us to come out there tomorrow, that's what you could get it for. If you want us to do it more regularly, there's a better pricing for that. I'm actually kind of working on what I'm calling these like service contracts. I don't love calling it a contract. I'm really kind of working on this branding that we've been talking about. And I mean, I'm just going to bounce the idea off of you right here. I mean, I'm thinking about calling it a family membership. Like if you're part of the family, like if you are part of the Master Mechanical family, if you're on this, and as part of being part of the Master Mechanical family, I mean, we treat everybody greatly, but you're going to get a little bit even better treatment. Like you're going to get treated like I would treat my brother, which I mean, almost everybody I drop everything for anyways. But Love it. Like if something's happening in the middle of the night, you're not going to have to pay overtime for us to come out there. You just pay our regular rates for us to make sure you're taken care of, and you get discounts on parts and things like that too. So there's a lot of benefits to it, but I think the biggest one is that we actually call you and we keep the schedule of your maintenance, so that way you don't forget about it. So you might set it and forget it on the payment, but we don't set it and forget it on your payment. We don't force it to be you to reach out to us. We have a log of when we've last done service, and we reach out to you when
you having that tech background. I mean that's your strong point.
Totally.
So you're getting dirty, right? You're a business owner. You're kind of boots on the ground, but also too you have a tech side, that you've been doing it for years, and you could bring that tech into the HVAC master mechanical family, or into the process, and like no one's missing anything because your systems are so flawless.
I mean, they're not flawless, but yes, I'll take the compliment for sure. There's flaws in everything. Yeah. But I really love to use technology and use what I know about technology to transform how we can provide service for the customers, and maybe even build some efficiencies into how my technicians can work when they're on site. I mean, I'm kind of working on some cool, like, wearable gadgets that I'm building and kind of designing with some of my developers that I have a team of for fun stuff like this. And I don't know, there might be more to come. Maybe I'll be coming on here someday telling you about some of these AI things I've been working on the side, which is super cool too.
That's awesome.
I love that part. I think that's why I decided to do trades, because trades generally don't have all of the technology. A lot of times there's some softwares out there that take care of some of those things for you, but a lot of, especially the baby boomers and those that have owned these companies for a long time, some of them are still writing Master Mechanical. When I purchased it, still writing invoices on like the 3-sheet carbon copy type thing, where it's like white, yellow, pink, or something like that. Oh, yeah. Oh, which one's yours? Here's this one. They write the schedule on a sticky note and hand it to that tech, and hopefully it doesn't fly out the window while they're driving down the road, or drop, how come, Miss Jones, nobody showed up. Miss Jones said, who was supposed to go to Miss Jones? Nobody knows anything about, when a little thing like that happens. I wouldn't say it happens all the time, but when it happens, it just completely disappears because there's no record of it. Mm-hmm. So we did a lot to change that, and there's a lot more that we're working on too.
So you have a strong CRM database, and just introducing AI into the company, and it's so important because you're keeping up with the trends, and I mean you have a strong footprint in the tech space too. So you're almost like bringing both industries together, and just making it better for the clients.
To bridge the gap between where the technicians don't have the bandwidth to kind of go forward because they're so busy trying to fix units that are down. One of the things that is a very apparent as a challenge is, how do we get parts to the customer's house faster? We can't carry every single part on our van. We try to carry as many as we can, but generally we can't. If it's not at the local supply house that's nearby and we have to order it for somewhere, how do I get that process faster? How do I make sure that thing's on its way? How do I make it so the customer knows just as much about when that part's going to be here as I do? So that way they're not calling, asking, hey, do you know when my part's going to be here? And then my office staff saying, well, I know that we ordered it. Let me go find the tracking number. Let me call FedEx or whatever, or go look it up online and see when it's going to be delivered. I'm working on building a tool that's kind of seamless. So as the package tracking, just like when you order something on Amazon or something that says it's on its way, and that, like my Nike shoes are on their way because they shipped them. Well, I want that same notification that would come to me to go to the customer. That way they know when their part's expected to be here. So they're not looking at me. First of all, it kind of takes some stress off of my team, like, following up with things that we don't really have any control over. Once FedEx has it, we just have to wait for it to show up at the door. But then nobody has to be communicating. We'll just send that straight to the customer. It'll be very transparent. And then they'll get a text along the way that says your part's supposed to be here on Friday by 10 a.m. If we can't, we're going to put a placeholder for the afternoon. If the part is here at 10 a.m., we will be at your appointment in the afternoon. If it for some reason doesn't make it by 10, then we'll have to readjust. But we're going to put a placeholder so that way we can get you fixed as fast as we possibly can. And that transparency, I think, is going to be, I think that's going to create a better customer experience and provide a better service for them. I mean, that's what I would like. So, I mean, I hope 100%. Other people will like it too.
Yeah, it sounds like you're doing just amazing things, Jake, and just looking kind of outside in on your business. It's just it's very cool of what you're building, and obviously those industries that are going to be very powerful moving forward. Like you said, plumbing, electrical, HVAC. I mean, yeah, we're all going to need it, and it's not going away. And it's so important in Arizona, right?
Totally.
I mean, HVAC. So. Well, thanks for sharing, the business and what you're doing on the tech side, what you're doing like as far as like business day-to-day operations. I think it's incredible. So I think all the listeners are going to really appreciate knowing that Master Mechanical is out there and ready to service, when they need it. So, Jake, where'd you grow up at?
I grew up in Chandler, Gilbert, Queen Creek, right here.
Okay. Do you got family out here too?
I mean, my parents live here. Both of my parents are from Wisconsin. They came from Wisconsin when they were in their early 20s. But me and I have two brothers. We were all born here. And my older brother no longer lives in Arizona. He went into the military and ended up in San Diego, and he's retired from the military, and he lives in San Diego. That's where his wife and his son are. I think they want to come to Arizona, but the timing isn't quite right. But I do believe that they'll probably be here soon, and that's going to be cool because I really love my older brother. I was going to say,
did you get along with them?
Oh man, I think we love on each other a little bit different than a lot of people do.
Yeah,
we fought to the death when we were kids. Like we fought each other. I don't know why we did that. I just always thought it was normal. I don't know if it is or isn't, but me and my brothers would fight like crazy. But that's me and my brothers. If you came to the house and tried to fight my brother or something, or you're trying to give my brother a hard time, you are now the enemy.
Oh, 100%.
It doesn't matter if I was bad at math or whatever it might have been. Everything, those two brothers are more important, and have been more important to me than so many things most of my life, And we could fight each other, black eyes or whatever it might be, and we still hug and love on each other at the end of it all.
That's so cool. Yeah, we're kind of the same way in my family. It's just, we might have spats, but, when it comes to if you talk wrong to my sisters, or if you try to bully my brother or whatever it is, it's on, and it doesn't matter what happened yesterday. It's, I'm going to be stepping up to the plate and being like, okay, we have a problem now.
Yeah.
Because
totally.
you have a problem with my family. So
yeah,
seems like that's how
that's exactly how the Slades are.
Yeah.
And I have no sisters, so it's just it was a very rough, like, I feel, I don't even know how my mom survived the three of us. I mean, we would break things. We would start kind of rumbling. I guess she would open the door and like push us outside so we wouldn't break things inside. That's kind of how she did. She took her, she's like, outside, and she, she said some things to us that I wouldn't repeat, I'd never repeat here. And we laugh about it. Me and my brothers laugh about it today, but I can see why she would say them, because we were crazy. And my poor mother, she dealt with it. And she still loves us just the same.
Boys are tough, I mean, I got one boy, and I look at my sister, she has two boys, and I'm like, how are you doing it? So I couldn't imagine how your mom was handling, the boys and the rough house. I mean, but I think that probably made you tougher,
totally.
Made you wiser. Did you in high school, did you play any sports or anything?
Yeah, I am very competitive.
Okay.
I grew up loving basketball. So all the way up until into high school, I played basketball. I played all sports. So these days, I think a lot of kids, they kind of focus on a single sport. Mm-hmm. Much different than when I was a kid. You played seasonal sports around, and I mean, there may have been, but it wasn't something that I was that aware of. You didn't play basketball all year round with the same team and kind of go do all these tournaments. You played basketball, and then maybe you got the same group of kids, and now you got a soccer team.
Yeah.
Maybe you got the same group of kids, now you got a baseball team. And you kind of like move through football and all. My sports were basketball and football and golf.
Oh, okay.
I did wrestle when I was a freshman in high school. I didn't enjoy it because I like to eat and I cannot cut weight. And I was already very small.
Yeah.
And I was trying to get bigger for football.
Yeah.
I wrestled for football actually, so I could get bigger and stronger. And I don't know how you do that when you're trying to cut weight. And it seems just like a terrible thing to do when you're supposed to be growing.
Right.
In high school. Like they shouldn't, I mean, I don't know. I better not say, I don't really know that much about the whole wrestling, competition and all that and how people will strategize on what weight class they would wrestle in. But it just doesn't seem good for somebody at that age to be doing any type of like massive weight reduction, trying to drop 10 pounds in a few days. It's just, there's something that can't be right about that for a young person, especially.
No, I think you once again hit the nail on the head. I used to wrestle too. I mean, I did it in junior high. I did it in high school. I did a little bit in college. I was fortunate because, like you, I was on the smaller side. I was a late bloomer. I don't think I hit that stage until my junior year in high school. But I didn't have to worry about cutting weight. And so I think I'm like in 100% complete agreement with you. That doesn't make sense. Now that you said it, I'm like, man, that's, I wonder if I could have been bigger, because I think it was my junior year when I started like having to cut weight a little bit.
Or you're just at least watching it. Like you're trying not to grow.
Yeah.
Right. You're trying to make sure you're watching what you eat more than maybe what you should have, because your body was wanting to do more and you were limiting it by.
So I could probably be 6 foot.
Dude,
maybe
I wish I could blame
right
that.
now.
I wish I could blame that for my stature, but I know that's not how it worked for me. I wasn't so fortunate. I was a freshman and there was a junior that was trying to, I think I was like 109. Okay. I don't know. Does that sound like the right number? Maybe 112?
As a junior?
He was. I was a freshman trying to fit my way into wrestling, and that's what he would come down to. Really? 112 maybe it was.
Wow, that's light.
And I was like, I couldn't. There was no. I mean, I had no chance. I had no chance. So that's what it was. I was 112. I would probably wrestle right in that area. I was very little. I was like 5'2" probably at the time. Wow. And
this was as a junior?
No, me freshman, him junior.
Okay.
Him junior. Apologies. He was like kind of tall and skinny, and I was like short and little, but fast. And so anyhow, I was like dropping to 109 or something below that, and it's just like it wasn't even that much. It was just the whole principle, and I like to eat. I mean, I'm trying to get bigger,
especially at that age.
It was like I want to eat, and I'm not gonna. It was during basketball season. I preferred basketball anyway, so I'm like, I'm just gonna go play basketball.
That's cool, man.
So,
did you? And then after high school, you went to ASU, right?
I did, yeah.
ASU, yeah. My wife graduated ASU too with a photojournalism degree. I wasn't that smart, Jake. I could, I had a little wrestling scholarship to Embry-Riddle.
Ooh,
in
Prescott. Yeah.
But I'm like, I don't think I'm smart enough to fly planes here or helicopters.
Man, that would have been so cool. I mean, I didn't want to at the time, but I still kind of aspire right now to be a pilot of some type. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
How do you balance everything, Jake? Like with work, with, family. What's your release?
That is probably the biggest challenge of my entire life, is trying to balance all of those things. I mentioned earlier that I'm a workaholic, and that's a real problem actually that I have. And our church actually hosts this thing called Celebrate Recovery. Man, it's going to get me a little bit, because it's kind of hard to talk about, but that addiction takes me away from my family in a way that's kind of similar to a different type of addiction, because I want to I'm such a task-oriented person. I want to get things done and I want to achieve, and it like sucks my time away from them. So I went to Celebrate Recovery for a while at Sun Valley, and I've really been focusing my attention on trying to figure it out. It's a constant battle for me, because I lean towards work more than I lean towards being present with my family. So definitely something I'm working on continuously. But one of the things that has recently really been helping with that is realizing, and I always knew this, but you just actually there's a difference between knowing and like realizing that you actually do have control of your calendar. I'm the owner of a business, and I do actually control my day. I can do the things that I want to prioritize. Yes, I'm being pulled in 1,000 different directions. Yes, it seems like everything's a priority, but if you don't make time for yourself and you don't make time for your family, then all you're doing is living to work. Doesn't seem great. Even though I enjoy working, it's really not great, because the happiness comes in the times where I'm giving it to myself and giving it to my family.
Yeah.
Or maybe serving with the church and things like that, or serving others. But I get up early. I get up at like 3:30 in the morning, and I hit the gym first.
Wow.
And that way, that gives me the kind of the jump start. And so a lot of things can be done that I want to prioritize to help lower maybe my stress level. I don't think I get stressed, but I get maybe tense, and I feel heavy on the things that I like, a burden of a load of work. Because I just look at this task list and say, oh my gosh, I got this, and it's forever. The truth is the task list never ends. So
yeah, that's life, man. I mean, every morning is a new journey, right? And yeah, thanks for sharing that, man. It's interesting, because I'm seeing so many similarities between me and you, and that's why I was really excited about this podcast, is just getting you over here and talking as men, but being vulnerable. And I there's so many things that, I could share about myself, and be vulnerable, but you're on the spot. You're in the hot seat today. It's all about you. But I mean, it's a very difficult thing when you're raising a family and you're managing a company, right? You're trying to build that legacy that you probably see in your head. And as men, it's so hard to share that vision with the outside world, or share that vision with your family. I'm sure Suzanne sees it, but then she probably wants you to be, more present at home. But our drive as male, male human beings, is we want to go, fight, and provide as much as we can. And, that's where that balance comes in. And so that Celebrate Recovery sounds amazing. I didn't even know that was a part of Sun Valley, to be honest with you.
The Sun Valley offers it at some campuses, different campuses, and there's all kinds of different addictions. Yeah. And it did feel a little bit uncomfortable to kind of talk about my addiction separate from others, because most people wouldn't say you're a workaholic. That's not the same. It's not the same. I would say myself, it's not the same as having maybe some kind of chemical addiction or some other type of addiction. And I wouldn't say necessarily it would destroy my life in the same visible way, because it doesn't take away maybe the things. It doesn't mess your life up quite the same way, but it still messes my life up. Yeah. It still creates a lot of tension between me and my family, and between me and my wife. And it's a hard thing, dude.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing.
I mean, it's your spouse is so important, totally. And I know Suzanne, just meeting her, a few times, and not having full conversations. I mean, she seems like a wonderful woman, and that's the first thing that I saw is, when we brought Mia over to the school, is I'm trying to connect with the teacher and see if she's she's down to earth, if she has a good heart, right? Because I mean, it's my little girl, and I'm like, who is this lady? But what was really cool about seeing you, seeing where you guys lived and seeing how you guys operate, I think that put me at ease when I'm allowing my daughter just to, kind of go with someone who I never even really met. And that's, once again, what I appreciate about you so much is, you're just very genuine, Jake, and I think that's what I'm looking for in my life is good people who have good hearts, who, we all have struggles. And when you start to open up those individuals around you about your struggles, that's where you find a deeper connection.
Totally.
I think that's why, I'm excited for this friendship. And, I know we're kind of talking about some business venture, and, for me, friendship comes first, and business comes second, right?
Yeah.
And that's, whether we do business in the future, that's here nor there. It's about building a good friendship and a good bond with you and your family. I know, Mia is good friends with your daughter, and, I just feel I feel like there's so many good similarities between me and you, that I'm excited about the future. So
I think there's something I could add on what you just mentioned. So when you are trying to find balance in your life, look for somebody that you might see that does, and surround yourself with people that are going to encourage you to have that balance, instead of with people that are doing the same thing as you. Like, you don't hang out with the people that are pulling you in the direction of where you don't want to be, I guess, as simple as that is, and put yourself with people that are going to actually challenge you to do better. Like, if you go to somebody and you tell, there's a couple sides of this, because sometimes venting is just okay and nobody has to give you any recommendations on what it is. I struggle with that, because I want the recommendations and I give recommendations. But I think if you go to somebody and they're just telling you what you want to hear, they're not really your friend. I would expect every single one of my friends to tell me that I messed up if I messed up, and they should hold me accountable. If I said I was going to do something, or I want to get better and I'm not, Ryan, I would expect you to say, I thought you said you were going to be working on that. That doesn't really show me that you're doing that. I know it's tough, but you got to get better, dude.
Yeah.
Because that's what I need to hear. I need somebody to tell me that I can continue to do better. If everybody's just Team Jake, then I'm the king and I do everything right, which is totally not true.
So true, man. I mean, I pride myself on being a good friend, first off. And, there's been times, Jake, that I've messed up with friends, but also too, I know that, as a friend, I can have those hard conversations, right? And I can push when, you need to be pushed, and I could, once again, this might sound like a little sissy-ish, but, comfort you when you need comfort too. And so I think, just being a good friend is showing you love when you need it, and pushing you when you need some more help. Mm-hmm. And so moving forward, I mean, you got my phone number. Whenever you need to give me a call, if there's any struggles that you're seeing or feeling, or that you just need to break away, and I'm here for you, man, for sure. So. Well, shoot, Jake, that was a bunch. I know we're, probably getting a little bit long-winded here, man. But
how long have you been doing this here?
We've probably been here about almost 45 minutes to an hour. So it really does go fast. But I mean, Jake, this was, my first podcast, and your first podcast. So I think there's always going to be a really good synergy just between me and you, because this was kind of scary.
That's cool. I mean, I don't really want to end it. I've been having fun. I enjoyed this.
Yeah. Awesome.
Cool. Well,
my hopes is, to, get this out to the listeners, get this out there into that social arena. I'm trying to build a community, a tribe, right, mm-hmm. of like-minded individuals. But the biggest thing is, I want to make sure that, we connect on our hobbies and our interests. Business is definitely a good topic. But now, knowing your story and maybe hearing your struggles a little bit, maybe sometimes I don't want to talk business with you.
I think it would be a really good session to kind of just talk through. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of us out there that are like you and I, kind of a workaholic and really high. When you're a high achiever, it's really hard not to be a workaholic, I think. Mm-hmm. And just kind of talk through that, because, I mean, it's not great. There are lots of benefits to our family members. Yeah. And, Suzanne, likes the things, but she would surrender all of those things for me.
Yeah.
So would my kids.
Yeah. You got a good family, Jake. You got good kids. You have a good wife. You have amazing, just a entrepreneurial mindset. I could see it. I love your story. I love your journey. We all have struggles in our life, and it's really cool to see what you're doing with your life and in the church to kind of work those struggles out, man. Totally. And for all the listeners, if you guys need any HVAC, Jake is your guy. And is there anything yet you want to say to the listeners? Last bit here.
Thanks for sticking it out. If you're still listening right now, that means you listened to us talk for almost an hour, it seems. So I really appreciate it. But if you really do need some HVAC work and you live in Arizona, we cover pretty much Phoenix to pretty much Page. So we go like all over the Navajo Reservation, all kinds of places. So if you need something, give us a call. If you need a second opinion, you heard that your grandma needs something, that's especially a good time to call us, because we will make sure that your grandma is taken care of and not taken advantage of. So
yeah, you got that service oriented
totally
heart for sure.
Yeah.
And you got that $125 annual service agreement. You have the family membership, which I love.
I gotta read it. I gotta rebrand that and relabel that. So that they debuted right now on this show. That's been on my mind to talk about and figure out how we're gonna kind of rebrand that to be more of a family oriented thing, because it's really what it is.
Well, let's talk that through. And my hopes is, after this podcast is to collaborate with you more, with some of these, opportunities that could present in the future. So, Jake Slade, man, I appreciate you. And we'll just sign off. All the listeners, you can hear the podcast on our YouTube channel, Lounge with Lars. We're going to be pushing Jake's message and this content on Instagram. But thank you guys for listening. Yeah. And Jake, thank you again.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And remember to live Lars.
Live Lars.